Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Prime Minister Modi today said that India is signing future ready trade deals with several countries, and that be it the trade agreement with the European Union or the recent deal with the United States, the entire world is openly praising these trade deals. Now, replying to the motion of thanks on the president's address in Rajya Sabha, PM Modi said that India is today a trusted partner of several nations and the country is playing its role towards the welfare of the world. Now, PM also slammed the Congress of lacking any vision, plan, or ideas for the country. The opposition, after sloganeering, walked out of the Rajya Sabha as the PM continued with his speech. Now, I'm going to give you a crux and some major pointers coming out of his speech, and then we go straight into the discussions, actually focusing that whether his speech was substance or a bundle of bluster. Now, the first point he raised that, and slamming the opposition, Prime Minister Modi said that opposition can raise any number of slogans, but they will never be able to dig my grave. In fact, digging my grave is a phrase which he repeated many, many times during his speech. Then he said Congress misled people with slogans like Garibi Hatao. Then he said that Congress only announced projects but never finished them. Similarly, he said that not one session where I was not abused. He again is playing that victim card during his speech. Then he said that, in fact, he slammed the traitor jab at BJP MP Ravneet Bittu by Rahul Gandhi, and he said that Rahul Gandhi called Ravneet Bittu a gaddar or a traitor because he's a Sikh. And then he says that Congress hates Sikhs, and PM Modi, that was a big charge, in fact, he made. Then he said that UPA brought banking system to teeter on the brink of collapse. This is what he said. Then he said that country is now on the path of reform express. Then he also sharply attacked Trinamool Congress, and he said, and I'm going to quote what he said about Trinamool Congress, that even the most developed nations are removing illegal immigrants from their countries. However, here there is an undue pressure on the courts to protect these infiltrators. These infiltrators are depriving our youth of their rights and livelihoods, and they are seizing land that rightfully belongs to the tribal communities. Then he said that world confident of stability after India's trade deals with EU and US. Then he said that when a deal was spoken about, people would refer to Bofors. That's what his attack on the Congress was. And then he said that Congress has no ideas, no vision, no plan. Then he said that from fragile 5, India now is on a fast track to become the world's third largest economy. Then he says India has become the voice of the global south on the world forums. India is doing future ready trade deals. And then he says that world progressing towards a new global order. And that's where India is playing the role of a Vishwa Bandhu. Then opposition obviously had walked out while the PM was giving his speech. Then he said that given his age, he can sit and shout slogans. This was the swipe he took at Mallikarjun Kharge, the leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha. And this was basically the quintessence of his speech. So the question we are asking, was Prime Minister Modi's speech full of substance or was it a bluster? Now, joining me this evening is TK Rajlakshmi, Deputy Editor from the Frontline magazine. Thank you so much for joining. We have Kallol Bhattacharya, Assistant Foreign Affairs Editor at The Hindu. Thank you so much, Kallol, for joining. Shubhankar Bhattacharya, Trinamool Congress spokesperson. Thank you so much, Shubhankar, for joining. And we have political analyst and independent media analyst Siddharth Sharma also joining us. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining. And let me begin with Kallol, because all eyes were on what the Prime Minister would say about the Indo-US trade deal. So let me begin with Kallol. Kallol, how do you really see his statement? Now, he said that the deal has been done. In fact, he almost said that this deal has been signed. In the morning, we heard External Affairs Minister Jaishankar saying that Trump's claims cannot be believed, that Trump's words are not the last words. In fact, he is not the one who signed, but it's Piyush Goyal, who's a commerce minister, who knows the details of the deal. Now, how do we take Prime Minister's statement inside Rajya Sabha when he said that the deal has been done?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I would say that the Prime Minister has not really dealt with some of the lingering questions about this particular deal that we have been dealing with over the past 4 days now, since Donald Trump announced it on 2nd of February, which was then followed by Mr. Modi's own tweets and social media remarks, and also that were amplified by his colleagues, by the Home Minister and other ministers, who also substantiated the news that a trade deal has been signed or has been concluded. The fact that the Prime Minister at least had to address in this particular speech was some of the claims that are being made by the American interlocutors over the past 3 to 4 days, like what the White House spokesperson and the Agriculture Secretary of the United States have been saying over Wednesday, was that India has agreed to open its market for American agricultural products. Now, whether India has agreed to open its market for American agriculture products is something that India wants to know, because that is a thing of India's interest. I mean, the people of India want to know what exactly is the details of this deal. So I think the parliament provides any prime minister, or rather any MP, with a kind of a sanctuary, a kind of a sacred space in which the prime minister can say many things that would then be sort of taken by the people as the last word on a particular issue. All the debates about the India-US trade deal could have been settled by the Prime Minister had he addressed some of the most important issues that are coming in the public domain. Most notably, has India stopped, or has Prime Minister Modi given an assurance to stop buying? And Donald Trump's wording of that particular Truth Social message is very clear. He isn't saying India has agreed to cut the purchase of Russian fuel. He's saying India has agreed to stop purchase of Russian fuel. And that India will now purchase more crude from the United States, and then probably from Venezuela. Now, these are the issues that the Prime Minister had to address. That, is India going to stop purchasing Russian crude? Is India going to open the
But are you
agriculture?
saying, Kallol, are you saying that Prime Minister actually should have spelt out certain terms and conditions of this deal? If at all he was saying that it was signed, he should have clarified things further when he was making this as part of his speech, which he stopped short of doing it.
Well, you mentioned the External Affairs Minister's remarks in this morning, and where he spoke to a news agency. And the External Affairs Minister basically showed that the Commerce Minister, who was working under direction of the Prime Minister of India, know more about the deal. So the issue was that the Prime Minister, at least from what Mr. Jaishankar has said, it shows that the Prime Minister Modi had some idea about the deal, and that he could have shared on the floor of the Parliament today. But I don't think we heard those details from Mr. Modi in the Parliament today, because there are more details coming every day from the interlocutors on the American side. And the Indian side is so far quiet. And when Mr. Jaishankar was asked that question, then he said that he was not directly involved in the negotiations. If the one of the most powerful cabinet minister in charge of diplomacy and foreign affairs was not directly involved by his own wordings, then who really knows more? Obviously, it's the Prime Minister of India who would know more than the External Affairs Minister in such cases. And I would say that the Parliament provided that setting for Prime Minister Modi to clear the air about this particular trade deal. But I didn't really hear those details from the Prime Minister this evening.
Right. So you are saying that the details which he should have discussed in the House, which should have been spelt by him, they were not spelt out. Now, let me come to Shubhankar now, because a lot of things were said about, keeping an eye on the West Bengal elections. He lambasted and slammed Mamata Banerjee, especially that people are trying to put pressure on the courts, and across the world, people are trying to flush out the illegal immigrants. But here there are people who want to secure them. What would you really say to that? And the guns were trained purely, directly at Mamata Banerjee, though he didn't take her name.
No, actually, much of the speech that I heard of PM, he had complaints from the entire opposition. He was going on and on with all the complaints that he had. He had complaints with the kind of political discourse he is facing. But the question to be asked is, who is the main responsible person, or the responsible party who has actually brought it down to? I mean, the discourse has come down to this level, and look who is complaining. That is the thing. And that too, he didn't spare mocking again, going back to Jawaharlal Nehru. Even he said that they have bought the Gandhi's name, right? So a lot of things have been said. He himself is complaining about the discourse, but he himself goes blah 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 into the same, bringing down everything. He's going the Nishikant Dubey's way. I don't find any difference between the speech of Nishikant Dubey and the Prime Minister. If this kind of speech, do we really, did you enjoy watching, Prime Minister speaking like that? Because I didn't. That is now we have never seen. We have seen a lot of prime ministers before. We have not seen a prime minister speak like that. Now there is one more thing. He was talking about a lot of things, and while he said he had a lot of problem with Modi teri cover khudegi, that was the major issue in which he continued for 5 to 8 minutes. Continuously he repeated that, and then he said that, see, this is what I have done, this is why Modi teri cover khudegi. I have, now there are no unmanned gates left on railway crossings, so that is why Modi teri. So it's a sharp way of just saying that, see, I am doing so much, and then also Congress is coming up and saying Modi teri cover khudegi. The thing is that the problem is not with this, but the problem is, why should a language go down to the level of teri cover khudegi? Whether it is Modi, whether it is Rahul Gandhi or anyone. Why should Ramesh Bidhuri come to the temple of democracy and call names to someone who is not from your caste, not from your section of society? So you don't get an authority to say anything just because you have been elected and sent to that temple of democracy that you call again and again. So who is bringing the discourse down? Then you say that, okay, now there is a problem with, and see, there are lies, Even when he said that about the unmanned gates, I immediately did a little bit of search on Google, and I was amazed that he actually didn't consider the narrow gauge and the meter gauge, whatever the length it is left. Then also 560 gates are left completely. So, while being a prime minister, if you are there and you're delivering a speech, you have to be very careful that at least you should be very practical about your facts, because otherwise all you're saying is lie. Next, a prime minister is saying that Gandhi's name has been bought by a family. You bought the Gandhi's name. You were not the Gandhis. You bought the Gandhi's name. What are you saying? What are you coming to? Personal level. There, you are stooping down. You are stooping low to that particular level, and then you have complained with when people, they throw the same stone back to you, because this is a thing of worry. That is what we are doing. We have been dealing with last 1 decade. We are just seeing the same thing. We have just brought the political discourse low. And when it is your speaker, when we say, our speaker has, what do you mean by our speaker? How can it be? It's Niluji's speaker, my speaker. How can it be different? You're sitting in a bloody Lok Sabha, Baba. What are you talking about? Then you have problem with Mamata Banerjee. Oh, that lady has shown some guts. She has gone directly to the Supreme Court to throw the questions directly over there. The things that people didn't realize. See, you are taking AI as a signatory software to register a name. And while pronunciation, of course, there is a difference. See, Mamata Banerjee, we make a mockery out of her language, because she doesn't have that kind of, she hasn't been able to adapt to the language of that level. She speaks Hindi, she speaks English well, but of course, that Bengali accent is always there. That intonation is there. So that makes her a sample of to be joked upon. Fine. It's fine. She has not complained about it. And I hope somewhere she understands it as well. That is why she said that while pronouncing a name, it might be very different what I pronounce, or how Niluji pronounces, or how somebody else pronounces over here. Not everybody is going to have such a clear diction. Not everybody is going to have such a clear pronunciation of English or any other language it may be. And she had given a live example of it. She has taken those candidates along. See, these are not. She came out of the Supreme Court and gave that your press conference. She brought those people up whose name were deleted, saying they had expired. They were dead.
No, but
she asked the name. That was Kormokar, Mojumdar. She said these are Hindu people. If their
Right.
name can be deleted, then just imagine what you done with the people from the backward classes, from the lower community, from Muslims. What have you
Yeah.
done with them?
Shubhankar, we in fact we can have a separate discussion on this altogether as to what is being said and how it's being said about the pronunciations and all as far as Mamata Banerjee is concerned. But coming back to the PM speech, do you think opposition did the right thing by boycotting and walking out Prime Minister Modi's speech? Do you think that that was a right step?
Niluji, the biggest fault that we as a society have done is that we have started accepting the fact that the opposition is creating a chaos. The sound of dissent, the voice of dissent is now being considered as chaos. If the voice of dissent is chaos in Lok Sabha, then I should say that Lok Sabha is basically meant for chaos. Because if you don't have a point to disagree, if you cannot have that, your right to disagree with something that government is saying, then what the hell we have Lok Sabha for? We cannot even discuss any issue. We are not discussing a policy. Even today, there were amendments being staged over there on voice vote that passed just because the absence of the opposition, it got passed easily. That is what is happening since last 1 decade and up. And this is how the democracy is going to advance. I
No,
don't
but
think
this
this is the right.
But do you think that boycott politics is the right step in the right direction? Because if the opposition continues to boycott like this, at the end of the day, you are ceding space to the powers that be, and they will continue to ramrod the way they are doing it. Shumankar, and then I'll
What
come
else
to
can you
Rajla.
do? What else can the opposition do? Have you seen the expression of the speaker of Lok Sabha? His expression immediately changes when he faces the opposition, and his
Right.
completely has a completely different expression when he sees the government. Is that kind of a speaker if you have in Lok Sabha? How are you going to express anything? Whether Rahul Gandhi was saying it right or wrong, that is something different. But do we have the right to hear him or not? Does he have the right to speak his words or not? Later on, you can always say that this particular speech is expunged, or we have not taken it in record, something different. But allow him to speak. Every time he started with even saying 2 words, it was being stopped. That is what was being said.
Right. In
So that
fact,
is the thing.
the opposition was largely on why LOP was not allowed to speak. Coming to you, Raj Lakshmi, since yesterday till today, what we have seen in Parliament, it was a ruckus which was almost unprecedented. We've never heard a prime minister boycotting or rather not replying to the motion of thanks to the president's address. We've never heard that. And just because LOP was not allowed to speak. And then the speaker comes out and says that we thought or we sensed that there was some garbad. That is the word he uses. And he said that there was some garbad which the Congress MPs were planning. And then we came to know that apparently the Congress women MPs had geared the PM's chair. That is all the kind of details which came out. So, what was the speaker's role? All what happened in Lok Sabha and then leading up to the Prime Minister now finally making a speech only in Rajya Sabha, which ultimately opposition had to boycott. What would you say to this kind of a ruckus?
See, I think that the opposition's, in fact, boycotting the session today, I think was an expression, of dissent. I mean, let's say, political dissent, and it was an expression of political dissent that follows from what happened in the Lok Sabha yesterday, as Shubhankar also said that not allowing the LOP to speak at all by constantly interjecting, by constantly interrupting him, and essentially not allowing him to speak. That itself was quite an affront. In a sense, and clearly it was quite clear, the way things would proceed from there on. So I think that the anger today that the opposition felt it should express was in the form of boycotting the session when the prime minister is actually going to speak today. Answering to the motion of thanks. In fact, it's quite interesting. I felt that in fact yesterday, the course, the Lok Sabha's proceedings, this whole thing was, made out that nothing outside, the president's speech should be sort of referred to. Now, I don't see any such proscription on the PM, because he seemed to be talking on several things which were outside the president's speech. I mean, in his reply on the motion of thanks. So whether it came to sort of attacking the Congress in his same old style, which I felt, did not evoke even sufficient enthusiasm among his own comrades in the in Parliament, because it kind of muted acknowledgement of his speech seemed to suggest that. But I think so. I think in that sense, he went out of his way, and I think it was also in part, Nilu. I felt it was an election speech also. I mean, first of all, to Tom that a trade deal had been signed, and that it
Right.
was a huge achievement, irrespective of the fact that nobody knows the details. To again to pick on certain states that are going to
Right.
elections,
In fact,
to sort of
you
carry the
use the
KMC.
word
Yeah.
election speech, and I'm just seeing what Jairam Ramesh's tweet is talking about. He has just tweeted at 6:41, and it says
Mhm.
that another election rally speech lasting 97 minutes in the Rajya Sabha today by the Prime Minister. As always, it was overflowing with abuses and assaults, distortions and dramatics, innuendos and insults, and of course, his usual quote of blatant and brazen lies. His self obsession and his fixation on dialogue bazi, and demagoguery was on full display. Yes, Raj Lakshmi.
Yeah, so I also got a similar sense, because essentially when he spoke about Assam and he referred to Bhupen Hazarika, and the Congress not sufficiently acknowledging his contributions, and then he spoke about Guspetier, his favorite term. Then he goes on to speak about Sadanandan Master, and how his legs got amputated, etc. in a political attack ostensibly. So he made all those references with specifically, in fact, referring to certain states which are going to the polls this year. And then, of course, the achievements, or let's say the non-achievements, again to talk about the PMKY, again to talk about the 6,000 rupees that are given to farmers, which everybody knows, is a pittance essentially, which hardly sort of, covers the cost of living in that sense, because considering the average holding, and plus the average income, earnings, of a farmer in this country, which is not over 10,000. In fact, it's less than 10,000. I mean, this is according to the agricultural survey. Now, I'm saying that he just sort of reiterated some of the old things that the government has done. I mean, he spoke about the Mudra Yojana. He spoke about bank accounts. He spoke about how PSUs were attempted to be sort of privatized by the Congress, but in fact, it is this government which is going all steam to sort of privatize some PSUs. In fact, we all know the state of affairs of the HECL, the heavy electrical, corporation
So
of India
what do
Limited.
you feel?
Yeah.
What do you feel Prime Minister was trying to say in this 97-minute speech? What was the crux? I mean, how would you see, if I were to ask you, what was the quintessence of his speech? What was he actually trying to convey, except for the politics of it, that Nehru is bad, Indira is bad, Congress doesn't do anything, Congress doesn't have any vision, they have no ideas. Whatever they did so far in all these years has been wrong, apart from this.
Well, the main crux was that India has signed a historic deal with the biggest superpower of the world, that is
Deal, but we
America.
don't know any
But
details.
but we
Deal,
don't
we
know
have
the
signed
details.
a deal, but don't ask the details.
But it was as if to convey that the deal is really good, and in the interests of the nation. Now, all it now in fact requires, the opposition is to go to town to ask about the details of this deal, and then to expose in front of the people of this country, because clearly it is not going to be a good deal, because given by whatever we know so far, it's clearly going to be a deal which is going to favor America. And as Siddharth also sort of pointed out earlier, I mean, it's not going to be something, clearly, in the interests of this nation, not in the interest of his farmers, not in the interest of the traders, not in the interest of the economy as a whole. So it's clearly something that he wants to project as a huge achievement on foreign policy, on the international sphere, and that he alone, has been able to do this, and that the Congress failed, sort of
Right.
miserably in striking a deal with major superpowers of the world. So with the EU and with the US, I mean, he should know that people are not really fools in this country. They also know as to why those countries are entering into a deal, with a resource rich and a labor intensive country like ours. So these things are very
Now,
common.
yeah, but now, Siddharth, the point is when Rahul Gandhi was flashing that essay, which was published in Caravan, and then he talked about Naravne's book, The Four Stars of Destiny. Amit Shah and even Rajnath Singh said that you can't talk about this book, and then the speaker saying that this is not part of the president's address. Now, if you look at Prime Minister's speech, was all what he said, I mean, whatever he said in his 97-minute speech, do you think that he really addressed those issues which were part of the president's address?
Well, the Prime Minister's speech today was not at all for any other purpose except for one thing. There was a lot of smoke and a very important hidden gun. There was a lot of smoke, something like when he attacked the TMC, saying that it was supporting or encouraging infiltration. And in fact, in a very roundabout way, he also said that the TMC is trying to pressurize the judiciary. He was obviously referring to Mamta Banerjee yesterday coming to the Supreme Court. The question is Mr. Amartya Sen a Nobel laureate and infiltrator, because he is also one of the persons who has been left out of the SIR? Is Mamta Banerjee a citizen of India coming to a Supreme Court and making up a case? Is it pressurizing the government? Then in that case, in every case that the central government appeals in the Supreme Court, doesn't it hold true that it is also trying to pressurize the Supreme Court here? So that aside, so what I was saying, but one very strange thing came out, when one very unique thing came out. The Vishwaguru claim has all totally been dumped. Now it is Vishwamitra, as you said. So that means to show that now from an exclusive one, Vishwaguru is exclusive. So from being an exclusive one, now he has accepted to becoming an also ran, because he now also said that after the Second World War, this is we are living through a new world order, and that he also used the word that India is a developing country and we are part of the global South and we represent the global South. So it's a very big demotion of himself from yesterday being a Vishwaguru to now saying that we are a developing nation and we are part of the global South and we are the voice of the global South. That essentially says that he has abdicated that throne of being a Vishwaguru. In fact, he himself has said in his tweet when he addressed to Mr. Trump after the trade deal that Mr. Trump is a global leader. He did not tell himself as a global leader. So, in fact, he has abdicated his Vishwagurudom to Mr. Trump. That is very clear. So when I was saying a lot of smoke and a hidden gun, the smoke was his attack on TMC, on Congress, on DMK, on Aam Aadmi Party. But the hidden gun was the policy tectonic shift. The trade deal with US is done, according to him. Till this morning, there was a lot of confusion. Mr. Jaishankar saying something on ANI, Mr. Piyush Goyal saying something else. There was a lot of confusion. For example, one of your panelists earlier also said that we need to now know what the details of the deal is. Now, when the Prime Minister stands in the Parliament and says that in his own words in Hindi, he said, "America se trade deal ho gaya." Ho gaya matlab trade deal is done. And now when the trade deal is done, and another very important phrase that he used, and that India has to now bravely face the world's global open markets. Vishwa Bazaar khul chuka hai, himmat se aage badhiye. This is his word. That goes on to show that the details of the trade deal is exactly as Mr. Trump had tweeted. Mr. Trump had tweeted that the Prime Minister of India has committed to buy American. Mr. Trump has tweeted that energy and agricultural goods will be sent from USA to India. So now the paradox here, energy is something, all human development minus energy comes to zero. Every human development till date has happened because of energy. Now till yesterday, India was buying cheaper Russian energy, and we were producing things maybe in the agricultural sector or the manufacturing sector. Now you have said, according to Mr. Trump, we are not going to buy cheaper Russian energy, but we are going to buy costlier US energy. So that goes on to show that your input costs are going to go up. That is, your manufacturing cost is going to go up, your agricultural cost is going to go up. And in lieu of that, the paradox here, the counterpoint here is that he is going to sell us costly energy as well as cheap agricultural goods. For example, in India, a farmer, when he grows 1 kg of corn, maize, or makka, that is called, we give him 24 rupees MSP. But the same corn produced by a US farmer comes at 17 rupees or 18 rupees. 1 kilogram of skimmed milk powder in India, producing it for a milk dairy farmer costs 320 rupees a kg. For a US dairy farmer, it costs just 238 rupees. A simple thing like cattle feed. Cattle feed is not a rocket science. Cattle feed, USA cattle feed comes at 25 rupees. The Indian cattle feed production rate is 43 rupees. And strangely, these two things that I mentioned just now, alfalfa hay, that is cotton, that is cattle feed, and duck meat, both of these things have been mentioned by the Indian PM, signed White House joint statement 1 year ago, that these things will land up in India. 1 year ago, when Indian Prime Minister met the US President Mr. Trump in White House, and both countries came up with a signed White House joint declaration, it clearly mentions in para number 9 that energy, petroleum, will come from United States to India. Alfalfa hay, that is cattle feed, will come from United States to India. Agricultural goods like duck meat will come from United States to India. So now the paradox is going to be, India is going to buy costly energy from America and get dumped cheaper agricultural goods from America. Now the question is, in India, there are nearly 30 crore people dependent on agriculture, and exactly the same number, around 30 crore people dependent upon small scale industry. That is, nearly 60 crore people of India are dependent either on agriculture or small scale industry. An average monthly income of a guy who is in agriculture, a farmer or a farm laborer, is around 5,000 rupees a month. For a small scale industry, it is around 15,000 a month. Both of them are pretty low. Now, how is that guy going to compete? Even today, with cheaper Russian fuel, he is only able to produce 1 kg of maize or corn at 24 rupees. Tomorrow, when costlier costlier US oil is going to come, how is he going to compete against him?
Absolutely. These details are to be understood by the people. But what did the Prime Minister do? Did he explain it to the people? He, in fact, said that India is ready to compete with the rest of the world. We are future ready for these kind of trade deals. Now, I'm coming because...
Just 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That's what I'm trying to say. The stock market crash on budget day and BJP sister organization, the Bharatiya Kisan Sangh, objecting to budget makes it amply clear that both the urban wealthy consumer and the rural poor producer, both have already rejected Modi Sarkar's policies. Both have totally rejected it. Whatever he is going to say now, it's already rejected by both the urban as well as the rural India.
All right. Now I'll come 1 minute to each, both of you, Shubhankar and Rajlakshmi. Shubhankar, to you first. So what would you really say towards the end, very briefly, on PM Modi's speech in Rajya Sabha? And what is the opposition now planning to do tomorrow? PM speech is over, but is the stalemate in parliament going to continue? Because if LOP ko bolne nahi diya, if that is the underlining reason for the entire opposition, so what is going to happen tomorrow then? Though tomorrow is a Friday where private members bills day, but then what is opposition going to do now?
See, for us, it is just like any other election speech that Modi ji has been delivering, while visiting there in Bengal. So it is just like that. We don't take it, there wasn't any material apart of a few of this, he called the European deal as mother of all deals. So must be this was father of all deal, whatever. He forgot to name this one. So apart of this point, everything was, that was targeted towards elections only. I completely agree with the panelists as well. Now, the thing is, one thing is very important. See, you don't have a part of, the infiltrator issue. I'm not seeing anything else that is, you're focusing. You're not giving anything towards Bengal. You have not committed anything towards Bengal. Apart of a few, this railway extension and all, I'm not seeing anything majorly coming up. I didn't hear that, okay, this special package, we have designed for Bengal. Okay, so double engine ki sarkar, whether there will be double engine ki sarkar or not. If there is no double engine ki sarkar, then how much will you torture Bengal more? So that is still not clear. that we have already tortured this much. We are very happy with it. Further, if see we are not, we are not be able to, have a government over there, how much we will be torturing them more. So there also, that plan should also be coming up. See, Nadda ji, you remember, while the Karnataka election was on, Nadda ji straight away, threatened the public over there that if you don't give us the vote, we can just treat them. So see, this is the thing. It is a fear tactics now going on. So either you will be voting on fear, number one. Secondly, it will be the other thing that they can do is Hindu Muslim. Apart of these two things, they don't have anything for Bengal at all. That the people of Bengal have very well understood. Thank you.
Right. All right. Rajlakshmi, to you towards the end, what would you say, and how would you summarize today? What the speech made by Prime Minister Modi, and what could happen tomorrow?
Well, as I said, it was full of rhetoric, and it was aimed at the state assembly elections in a few months, and I think he was again tom the achievements, or rather the non-achievements of his government in a sense to the public, and and therefore I think he himself wasn't very convinced, I think, of all that he was saying, because that also explains his lack of enthusiasm in his own tenure, and also the lack of enthusiasm among the treasury benches towards his speech. But anyway, however, I think this was essentially playing to the gallery Nilu, as he always does, and he's a good speaker in that sense. So he does manage to get some. I mean, tomorrow every every I think media channel or newspaper is going to be sort of full of what he said, essentially.
Something I need to.
And I just hope that the opposition in the coming days, does press forward, with the demand about the details of the US deal. Yeah.
All right. Yes, Shubhankar, very briefly.
Yes. A small little thing I'll add to the earlier speaker is that, see, Modi ji now have by now he has understood by the last two elections that he has fought over in Bengal that of course he's a fantastic orator as compared to Mamata Banerjee and all, but that means his oration is not going to work over there. His oration has not worked earlier, and this time whether his oration will be bought or not, that is the thing of consideration. So let's see. That's the things of contemplation. We will contemplate it further.
All right. So we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Rajlakshmi, Shubhankar. Thank you very much for joining on the Federal. Thank you.